Keir Starmer is walking into a political firestorm, and it's shaping up to be one of the most critical moments of his career. Brussels is reportedly demanding that Britain surrender significant control over its fishing rights as part of Starmer's proposed reset in relations with the EU. For many, this isn't just another round of negotiations, it's a betrayal of the hard-won sovereignty Brexit was supposed to deliver. The European Union has made no secret of its desire to secure continued access to British waters for its fishing fleets. The leaked demands suggest that Brussels is pushing for the status quo to remain, effectively granting EU trawlers rights to fish in UK waters much as they did before Brexit. Critics argue this would represent a complete reversal of Britain's post-Brexit independence. Adding to the outrage, Brussels is reportedly insisting that the UK submit to rulings from the European Court of Justice, ECJ, as part of any deal. These demands, alongside calls for Britain to relax its marine protection policies and potentially reopen sensitive fishing areas to EU trawlers, have ignited fierce backlash across the country.
Keir Starmer is in Brussels today, trying to perform a reset with the European Union. What do you make of it?
I'm very wary of this. I've always said that Starmer remains a Remainer. I sat in Parliament week after week for over 2 years and watched Starmer conspire with people all around the House to try and keep us in the EU at almost any cost. So he now goes over there to talk about a reset. I'm worried that that might go beyond the mandate that the British people gave us to leave the European Union in 2016. Remember, Starmer was the one who called night after night for a second referendum. So I think we're right to be a bit cautious about this.
Are you saying you don't believe the Prime Minister when he says that he believes that we should be out of the single market, out of the customs union, but have a closer relationship with Europe outside of its institutions?
One of the things I learnt from bitter experience is on anything to do with the European Union, you always have to read the small print, be it the Lisbon Treaty or the Trading Cooperation Agreement or the Withdrawal Agreement or whatever. So if he's talking about a reset, I want to see what that says in writing and what legally it actually means. So we haven't seen that yet, but I think we should remain cautious.
What do you think the optics are of Keir Starmer being in Brussels today, having a very friendly press conference with Ursula von der Leyen, as we've just seen? How do you think that is going to play?
Well, it's not unusual for a British Prime Minister to go to Brussels. It's not unusual for them to have high-level meetings. Nothing on one level unusual about that. The reason for my caution is based on what I saw with my own eyes in the House of Commons week after week for a couple of years. Here's a man who desperately wanted to have a second referendum because he didn't like the result of the first one. And I'm worried that he is the person who's now talking about a reset with the European Union.
For Britain's fishermen, this feels like the ultimate betrayal. Fishing was one of the most symbolic victories of the Brexit campaign, with promises of taking back control of UK waters serving as a rallying cry. Now, many in the industry fear those gains are about to be undone. Mike Cohen, CEO of the National Federation of Fishermen's Organisations, NFFO, didn't mince his words, describing the EU's demands as a continuation of Britain's neo-colonial relationship with Europe. Foreign boats fish just 6 miles off our coasts while we're left to deal with the scraps, Cohen said. We were promised control, and now it seems we're giving it all back. Environmentalists are equally furious. Charles Clover, co-founder of the Blue Marine Foundation, called the EU's proposal outrageous, warning that granting access to French and Belgian trawlers could destroy fragile marine ecosystems. This isn't about trade, it's greed, Clover said. If Starmer agrees to this, it will trash Britain's marine protections. Yet, Starmer and his team see the reset as crucial to repairing relations with Europe and improving the UK's economic outlook. Charles Grant, director of the Centre for European Reform, has argued that closer ties with the EU could bring long-term economic benefits, particularly in areas like energy, trade and security cooperation. Starmer's reset is going to require politically tough decisions, Grant said. The EU isn't going to give better trade terms without getting something in return. But even Grant acknowledges that the optics of this deal are deeply damaging. For many voters, fishing rights are about more than just economics. They're about sovereignty and self-determination. Coastal communities, particularly in Scotland, Wales and Cornwall, are already voicing their outrage. Nigel Farage has wasted no time in seizing the moment. Speaking at a recent rally, he declared, "This is exactly what I warned about. Starmer is ready to undo Brexit piece by piece and roll over for Brussels. Well, I've got news for him. We won't stand for it." Farage's Reform UK party stands poised to capitalise on the growing anger. Political analysts believe the controversy could reignite support for Farage among disillusioned Brexit voters. Duncan Barks, speaking on GB News, said, "If Starmer folds on fishing rights, Farage will leap on this like a lion on fresh meat. Reform UK could make a major comeback." Within Labour, there are growing concerns about the political risks. Many MPs worry that conceding on fishing could alienate voters in key battleground areas, coastal communities that swung to the Conservatives in 2019. These areas feel abandoned, and Starmer's willingness to negotiate with Brussels may deepen their resentment. For Brexiteers, the fishing issue has become symbolic of a larger battle over independence. Marc Francois captured this sentiment when he warned, "If Starmer hands over our waters, he'll lose the trust of millions. This isn't just about fish, it's about sovereignty." But Starmer's allies argue that the benefits of a reset outweigh the risks. A Labour spokesperson emphasised that the negotiations aim to strengthen trade, tackle security challenges, and drive economic growth. "This isn't about reversing Brexit," the spokesperson said. "It's about making Brexit work." Despite these assurances, critics aren't convinced. Many see the EU's demands as a power grab, a blatant attempt to bring Britain back into its orbit. And for voters, the fishing rights issue is deeply personal. "We fought for control of our waters," said one fisherman from Cornwall. "Now it feels like we're giving it all away again. People won't forgive this." The timing couldn't be worse for Starmer. With a general election on the horizon, Labour can't afford to alienate key constituencies or reignite Brexit-era divisions. Yet, the stakes are too high to ignore. For Starmer, the reset represents a chance to unlock economic growth and repair fractured relations with Europe. But for his critics, it's a test of his leadership and commitment to the promises of Brexit. Brussels, meanwhile, is standing firm. EU officials have made it clear that access to British waters is essential for member states like France and Belgium. The question now is whether Starmer will push back or concede, knowing full well the political fallout could be catastrophic. Nigel Farage is ready to exploit any perceived weakness. At a recent event, he warned that the EU reset represents the death of Brexit and urged voters to hold Starmer accountable. "This isn't over," Farage said. "We fought for sovereignty once, and we'll fight for it again." The next few weeks will be critical. If Starmer stands firm, he risks derailing the reset and losing out on closer ties with Europe. But if he folds, the backlash could reshape Britain's political landscape for years to come. For fishermen, voters and Brexiteers alike, this isn't just about policy, it's about trust, sovereignty and the promises made during the Brexit referendum. If Starmer caves, the consequences could be seismic. As the negotiations unfold, all eyes are on Starmer. Will he defend Britain's sovereignty or be remembered as the leader who handed it back to Brussels? One thing is certain, this story is far from over and the fallout is just beginning. Stay tuned, because we're bringing you every twist, turn and revelation in this explosive political saga.